So we're going to talk about the areas of finance study and what you can do with finance careers, sort of the two things together. Okay, why would you take finance unless you have a career in mind? We have three main streams in our program, and I'll describe them and how you take courses to fit into those streams. The degree doesn't require you to follow any of the streams, but we advise you that for various careers, the particular streams are well suited. And there'll be a note here for accounting majors. Maybe you'll double major, maybe you'll switch back into accounting. So we have actually 5 areas that you might say in finance study, things that get called finance. Corporate finance or financial management is what you do when you work for a company that isn't in the finance business. You're working for Bell, you're working for an oil company, a mine, a paper mill, and you're working in something that actually has a lot of accounting in it as well. Positions in this area are often filled by accountants who ironically don't have enough finance knowledge. Then there's investment and wealth management. This is a stream that's most popular. A number of you will end up in it. This is where you are either working with individual clients to manage their investment portfolio, or you're working as a professional portfolio manager where you're managing large pools of money. Okay, you're deciding how the money will be invested. So you might work for a pension fund, you might work for a mutual fund, and you don't directly work with the clients, you manage the money. In the meantime, brokers or financial advisors are working directly with the clients. The third area, which happens to be the greatest strength of our school, is personal financial planning. And personal financial planning is always working directly with the clients, and you work with the clients as an advisor, not just on investments or insurance, but on everything that they do at once. Okay, so it's much more comprehensive. This is the area that our school is best known for, and we'll talk more about that. Then there's a more general area, financial services in general. We always think of it as the banks, but there are also others like insurance companies and credit unions. These are big hirers of our students, okay, but it's not as specialized, okay, as the first 3 set, so that any finance degree might well serve you in taking such a career. The final area is public or government finance, and I'll talk about that briefly as well. But first, let's talk about the careers that would fit these streams. So the first career is in corporate finance and non-financial firms. Now, I have to warn you, this is heavily accounting related. One of life's little ironies is that my chartered accounting designation, or actually I should say correctly now, my chartered public accountant designation, would give me a better chance of getting a job like that than a finance degree does. So the common thing you start out doing is managing working capital, cash balances, things like this. A lot of accounting involved. Extremely important stuff in the companies. This doesn't get managed, companies fail. For very simple stuff, they don't do it right, they fail. Small businesses that don't do this go bankrupt very quickly. There are lots of job opportunities. The trick is finding them because they're spread so widely. Okay, so I don't know if the Career Center will tell you this, but I will. You can't sort of go to one place and say, okay, here's the jobs, here's who I apply. You have to apply to 300 or 1,000 different companies because every one of them wants one person, 2 people, and they only want them sometimes. And so these are more difficult jobs to get. They're very rewarding because you actually work in a company, you're actually doing something constructive and more tangible frequently. Okay, so this is an area that always interested me a lot because of that, because it was more something I could get my hands on. Especially when I was an auditor, I'd enjoy seeing those companies. But to find a job, you have to do a lot of work. Okay, especially in this economy. The next field is wealth management careers, investment management. So these jobs are almost entirely in the financial services industry in one way or another. Okay, I already said there were sort of 2 kinds. You could be investing large amounts of funds, working as a portfolio manager, or you could be an investment advisor. Okay, the old term for it is broker, and we still call them brokers because they are actually doing brokerage. They're actually acting as an intermediary for you. But the term is not actually the legal term anymore in Canada or the US. There's something you should understand. These are the most readily available jobs. Edward Jones you're quite likely to come in contact with Edward Jones. They talk with a lot of people in our school. Okay, independent, one-person firms. Okay, they set up in a local neighborhood, one investment advisor, one assistant, one office, one phone, one computer, and serve the local community. So there's lots of these jobs. Now, they require only the Canadian Securities course. You don't need a degree. There are also investment analyst and associate analyst positions. And this is the stuff you read about in the newspapers. You know, they're quoting X analyst or Y analyst on something or other that he or she has discovered about a company. You know, they've famously recently, was it Carson Block of Muddy Waters discovered that Sino-Forest financial statements were a package of lies. And that's the sort of work that I do, or used to do a lot of, not professionally, but as a professor, exposing frauds. Now, something you should understand, I'm going to go back up this table, but first, analyst jobs, despite all you read about them, your chances of getting such a job are almost zero. There are virtually no such jobs. There are only a handful of people who are analysts, okay? So although you hear all this public publicity about them and about the opportunities for it, in fact, there's hardly any openings. We would produce on our school hundreds of graduates per year, and one might get an associate position as an analyst after a few years of rotation in other jobs, okay? One person, all right? And those people, you may meet them because they're now teaching for us. They're that good. So it's very difficult, and I'm warning you now. Furthermore, how are you going to compete with somebody who's got a master's in mining engineering and is now covering the mining companies? And that's what they are. I would have a difficult time competing in that field now myself, even with the huge experience I have, because I don't have a science or technical degree or 10 years of experience in an industry first. So the people that I know in that business, a woman that we offered a job at York years ago, she has a PhD in finance and a CFA. Another one that I know is got a PhD in biochemistry, then spent 10 years in the Ontario government assessing biotech companies, and then became the biotech expert analyst for YorkU Securities. I mean, we can't compete with these people. So I'm just warning you now, it's possible you could do that, but it's a tough goal to meet. However, going back up, okay, so the investment advisors, I said, is the most easiest one to get into, but it's a cutthroat business. You eat what you kill. That means you have to get clients, you have to persuade them to let you manage their assets or act as their investment advisor. Typically, as my broker said, you don't have enough gray hairs. Her clients who've got the money all look like me. All right, you see, that's actually the problem, is that you have to get these old fogies like me to entrust their money to you. So that is a hard field also to enter. And most people go into it. It's not a bad experience to try it, but it's all driven by commissions and asset fees. You know, you don't get paid, they pay you a salary for a few months, and then you're on your own. A few people succeed in it. I can think of somebody who was head of the National Finance Students Association, Alex Lee, who's still in that business, but not many people have gone that route. On the other hand, I wouldn't discourage you from trying, because I said it's good experience. Now, actually, the jobs that interest a lot of people are the investment management jobs, and there are somewhat more of those, and they will continue to grow because the pool of funds is continuing to grow. The total number of dollars being invested in RSPs, mutual funds, pension funds, etc. You can work for a mutual fund where you're drawing other people's money in, or you can work for a pension fund where the money is forcibly in there. And I mean, how big is our pension fund, Dale?
About $1.5 billion.
Okay, that's York University, right? I mean, we're a big operation, but we're not that big. $1.5 billion takes a number of people to manage it. So no, you wouldn't work for York in this case. We don't manage our own money. We parcel it out to other people, and Dale's actually part of the process of deciding that. But what you do get in there is terrific exposure, and it is sort of like being an analyst as well, because you have to understand what you're doing. So it's a combination of both. Now, but these are still hard careers to get. Okay, so let me not, you've all read the stuff in the papers, you all think this is a great thing, and you're all going to take all these investment courses. But I'm warning you, it's a tough field to get into. Okay, we'll do our best to prepare you for it. Personal finance careers. So financial planning is sort of like the brokers, but comprehensive. Financial planners work with somebody to deal with their insurance, their tax issues, their debt management, planning for their retirement, planning for their death, and how their estate will be managed. Everything all rolled together. Okay, this is, it's obvious this is the area that I like the best. I'm also a certified financial planner and a fellow of the Financial Planning Standards Council. The CFP designation is a gold standard, but there's absolutely no requirements. In Canada, except in Quebec, where you must be certified, you can call yourself a financial planner even though you don't know anything. Okay, so that will probably change, and I wouldn't advise you to try being a financial planner without having more qualifications, especially since you're now in a degree, you can take the courses with us. So where would you work there? You work in banks, you work in actual financial planning firms, you work with investment advisors, insurance brokers. My investment advisor actually now has a financial planner working with her because, and one of our sometime instructors, Paul Fettis, has his own investment management firm. Okay, so he's actually managing people's money. What has he done recently? Well, first he developed his own personal financial planning course that he delivers to people who might be his clients, so they learn about planning, not just about money management. And then he went and wrote his CFP exams to go on top of his CFA and MBA. So financial planning is becoming far more important. Of course, the easy place to do is in the banks. Now, most financial planners, it's again, you eat what you kill. You have to get clients, and you either get commissions on selling mutual funds or commissions on selling insurance. There are a small number, and they include some of our prominent graduates, who are paid salary or are paid fees per hour for their work. And one of our professors made his entire career doing that. But it's not so common. You tend still to be get commission-based. This is, of the professional careers, this is the easiest one to get into because we know there's a big overhang of old guys like me who are going to be retiring and need to have somebody take their practices over, which means you buy the practice, you get the clients, try to hold them. And so there's a tremendous opportunity, and they're not training enough people fast enough to fill all that need. So this is actually the best opportunity. Now, my experience with financial planners, and I know a lot of them, is that they love what they're doing because they actually feel very positive that they're helping people. And so, just if you read Investment Executive, read the stories in Investment Executive, these financial planners are all an enthusiastic bunch of people. It's also somewhat less pressured than, say, being an investment analyst, and more flexible. A good friend of mine had serious problems. His wife was very ill. He had to take over looking after the kids. He still managed to maintain his practice and his lifestyle. He'd pick up the kids and then see clients in the evening. He'd see a client just before he picked up the kids. He could time it that way. Clients like you to come and see them at their home, so he could, in fact, have flexibility. So it's actually a better lifestyle than the other investment stuff. Being an investment banker is a terrible job, you understand. If you're an investment banker, your marriage will be over by the time you're 40. Your children will not know who you are because you don't know who they are. Okay, your spouse will detest you, or your ex-spouse will detest you. You will probably get a heart attack at 45 or 50 and die a miserable person. Okay, as opposed to financial planners who live a long life and are very happy. Okay, look at me, right? Now, financial services careers more generally, which is what quite a few of you will get into. And this could just be the starting point for going into one of the others. You need experience, so you get into a bank, a mutual fund company, get in anywhere. Don't suppose that you're going to walk out of here with a degree and get a really high-profile, big-paying job. It's not going to happen, okay? I have graduates of business programs making my coffee for me at my local Second Cup. Okay, it's a tough world. So you take anything you can get and get experience. Okay, it's the thing we can't give you is experience, and that is what employers are also looking for. They want to know that you can really work. So these are the intermediaries, and they hire lots of intermediate level people. I can't remember how big the banks are now. 60,000 people apiece or something, employment. And you can take a lot of those positions. You can be at the entry level, almost anywhere in the banks. And there's 6 big banks in Canada, not 5, don't let them fool you. There's the National Bank as well. There are smaller banks. TD now has more branches in the US than it does in Canada. Scotia is the most international of the banks. Many of you, this is York University, most of you in fact, speak 2 languages or maybe 4 or 5, the way some of my students do. And that can be very valuable in banking. You can go international. And so this is a terrific opportunity. A nice place to go also would be credit unions, because they are underserved with skilled people, and yet they're really interesting places to work. They're just like small banks. So don't overlook the credit unions. Insurance companies, boring though they are, also hire a lot of finance grads, so they tend to look for ones with stronger math skills. Okay, so this is the easiest area to get into at the beginning, is the big financial services firms, and many of you will start there. Okay, I mean, Guyana, whom some of you have met already, started with has just left CIBC and is joining Scotia McLeod. Okay, and that's a common sort of thing. And she's now in a rotational program, so she'll get experience in many departments. Now, public finance careers, regulation of financials. I work in this field actually now. Oddly, I hadn't expected to. Regulation of financial services, tax and government spending policy, control of public spending. Our degree is not directed at these jobs. It will not be a bad way to start, but it's not really what you get. They're looking for policy people, so they tend to be people who've taken masters in public administration or masters in public policy and law, something like that. I deal with a lot of policy people because I work in payday lending regulation, and none of these people have finance degrees. Okay, none of them. They're lawyers and political scientists. Okay, course planning. So how are you going to get to these careers? And now, of course, some of you already know what's happened. Others of you have yet to hear this. There are no finance courses until the 3000 level. Use the website. Take the prerequisites first. I am not kidding. We really, really get upset if you do not take your prerequisites. You do need them. We didn't make them up just to make life miserable for you. I can make life miserable for you with my exams. The prerequisites are so the exams aren't so bad. You must have statistics. I personally think that every person who's allowed to vote in Canada should have to take a statistics course so they can understand how governments lie. You need to have financial accounting. Most finance profs don't have much accounting, but underlying a lot of what we do in finance is still accounting. So you need to have that course. You need to have micro and macroeconomics. Finance, as it currently is practiced in the world, comes out of microeconomics. You must have those courses. I also recommend that you take law and management accounting before you start finance, or at the very worst, take them with. There's a whole bunch of stuff that's assumed you understand about law. And again, many of you are from countries other than Canada, and so you don't understand our legal system, and we are assuming certain things that are common in Canada, the US, the UK, in the legal system underlying finance and underlying personal finance courses that I teach. I'm specifically figuring you know what a contract is. Okay? So get the prerequisites. Don't leave them. And we will find you. I threw 2 students out of a class last fall, okay? And that meant that they lost their student funding because they didn't have any of the prerequisites. Next piece of advice, some of you have already done this, but some of you haven't yet. Take ADMS 3530 Finance, the introductory course, as soon as you can. As soon as you get the prerequisites, take it. The reason is you need it for everything else. And don't wait for third year. You can take 2200, 2400, and 2600 later. They're all part of your degree. You must take them, but they are not essential to the finance courses. I want you to have those courses, but I don't need you to have them before 3530. So get it in as soon as you can so that you don't get blocked. Even though we have many, many offerings, students still find that they can't fit their courses together. If you want to major in finance, you want to be able to get them, and there are some courses that are only offered once a year. After 3530, you'll have a better understanding of whether you actually like finance. I mean, those of you who haven't taken any finance so far actually don't know anything about it. And so 3530 starts you understanding because it gives you some of each area of finance. Then, next step, take 3531 and 3541, personal investment management and personal financial planning, the next semester, or as soon as you can. Preferably take them together. Many students do this. I mean, when I ask in my classes, how many of you are taking 3531 while I'm teaching 3541, about 3/4 of the class are in both classes. Okay, some of them are actually just staying in the classroom, and Professor Damian comes in after me and has another 3 hours to make life miserable for them. Okay, because those two are then prerequisite to every other finance course. At that point, it gets a lot easier to fit everything in. Okay, so that's our advice as to how you manage your program. We're a pretty flexible program, so there are many electives you can choose from. and they're in the 3 main streams that I'll demonstrate in a while. You can change your specialty even in 4th year. I'll repeat again, you don't need to follow one of our streams if you just want a finance degree or you don't know what you're doing. Okay, you can always change around. You can get your finance degree without matching any of our streams, okay? If you want finance only for your own interest, and that maybe some of you may come to that conclusion, you'd like some more, but you're going to go on in accounting or whatever, what you do is you just take the 3,000 level courses. That will give you basis of all areas of finance, give you a good basis for it, and if you later want to take more, you'll be well prepared for it. Okay, if you just want it for your own interest, personal investment management and personal financial planning are not given at the same level of technical difficulty as 4,000 level courses, and many students are in fact taking them for their own personal lives. Okay, I mean, personal financial planning is something we will all have to do. Someday we hope we'll have enough money that personal investment management will also be useful. Okay, so and of course the people who are teaching those courses are teaching it in that way. I mean, we have personal financial lives ourselves and investments that we invest and that sort of thing. So it's in fact highly practical. Now, the BAS Honors Finance degree. So those of you who want to specialize in finance, this is what you have to do. 120 credit hours, the same core and elective requirements as all of them. You have to read the calendar, okay? Required courses for all finance students, 3530, 3531, 3541. So you get them all out of the way. Then you must take one of the 2 courses, 4501 or 4540. It's your choice. I mean, you can take both of them. They're quite different courses, but you must take one of them. After that, it's up to you what you choose. So you can follow one of our recommended streams or you can take any combination you like. And then you have to take 4 more finance courses and 4 BAS electives, okay? And 3,000 or 4,000 level, they might be finance. You can take all finance, for your electives. But I'm not covering the entire program for you, okay? What I'm talking about is the finance. You must meet the BAS requirements, and we have a lot of students who miss something, and then they end up in tears in the advisor's office because they want to graduate and they've missed a course they had to have. There are course sheets that tell you this is where you set out your program that fit. There's one for finance, one for accounting, one for everything, and specialized ones for finance. And you check those stuff off and you get the right courses. You must read the calendar and get the prerequisites first. Furthermore, we have limited resources. We have 1 student advisor in the university, okay? And she is in fact at the moment a replacement on a temporary basis for the advisor who until a couple of weeks ago was in the office. So Ms. Gina Kim is the advisor now. If you don't do your homework first and determine everything you need to know and probably solve your own problems, if you go to her with a big set of problems to solve, it's hard to get appointments because there's only 1 person. So do your work first and you won't need to see her. Or if you do need to see her, you'll be able to solve the problems and solve them quickly. Okay? So it's important to recognize that the resources are not there that you can just walk in and ask for help. All right, 3 main streams. I've done the financial planning stream first because that is the program that we are best known for. Okay, we're the top program in Canada, one of the best in the world. And this is what you have to do. Now, I've already told you that CFP is the gold standard. So here's the CFP requirement. CFP works like this. You have to take a bunch of courses with 1 certified education provider. We are certified. You must take what they call the core curriculum. You write 1 exam. You get some practical experience working. You write a second exam, you take a capstone course and you write a second exam. We roll all the education right into our degree. So our capstone is part of our finance degree. And we're one of the certified capstone providers. We have students, in fact, coming from other programs to take our capstone. And so what you do is you take the introductory finance. Then you have to take 2 tax courses, 3520 and 4561. Income tax is a very difficult subject and very important in financial planning. Okay, this is an area, for example, it's a source of strength for me because I'm a chartered accountant, so I had to study tax very seriously. However, I don't teach the tax. We have tax specialists who teach it in this school. And Joanne McGee, who is the best known of our tax professors, is known across Canada for her books and her research. Okay? So you have to take those 2 courses. Now, they don't count as finance courses. They count as part of the BAS, but they have to be electives. Then you take the personal investment management and personal financial planning. Advanced portfolio management, investments is where you're going to make a lot of your money. Okay, that's where many of you will end up working as financial planners. You may be selling mutual funds, you may be advising people and everything. Your income will come from mutual funds. Then retirement estate planning. Now notice, unless it's marked otherwise, each of these courses is offered every semester, usually multiple sections. But we can't in 4505, 4506, and 4507. So 4505 is retirement and estate planning, absolutely critical. Guy who's teaching us had 38 years experience in the field as a professional financial planner, fee for service only. Okay? 4506, professional financial planning, is in the winter, so it follows every time. 4505 is a prerequisite, you take it. 4506 the next in the winter. That's the capstone. You don't have to take it, you could come back later and take it. But it's kind of useful to do it during your degree. That is taught by Alan Goldhar, who is the Chief Investment Officer for the Public Guardian and Trustee of Ontario. Manages $1.2 billion. 2 of our graduates work for him as planners. And he has a whole staff of planners. He has seen more stuff than anybody in the country. He's got the biggest single professional financial planning shop in the country, and he's teaching for us. And you'll learn how to do live case studies. You will actually go out and get a client and do a comprehensive plan. You'll do a bunch of case studies in class. You'll do something like 3 times as much as any other program in the country. And if you come out of it and haven't died of overwork in the process, you will know a huge amount. Okay? And now there's a new course, 4507, Insurance and Other Planning Topics, which is just starting this fall for the first time. It is not mandatory to have it for the CFP yet, but it will be in a year's time. And it's going to be a mixture of topics. A whole bunch of insurance, ethics, which we're moving out of the capstone, so the capstone isn't so much work, and behavioral finance, and probably I'll teach you stochastic financial planning, which is an area that Nabil Tahani and I are now writing the leading papers in the field. First 7 are mandatory to write the CFP, and you've got to take them all with us. You can't take them anywhere else. Okay? You can always come back and take them. We have people coming back to take them. But kind of useful to do it during your degree. And that sets you up for the CFP. Investment management stream. There are a lot more courses here. Now, understand something clearly. The gold standard is the Chartered Financial Analyst, the CFA designation. Sorry, I should say CFA charter. Okay? Professor Damian is a CFA charter holder. Okay? The CFA is now the sort of required ticket. But the CFA is different from the accounting and CFP designations. It does not require you to take any courses of any sort. You just simply pay your money and write the exam, or the 3 exams. The 3 of them. They're quite hard exams. Okay, they're harder than the CFP exams and easier than the professional accounting exams. They have a lot of accounting content in them, and they are written around the world. Okay, but they're very American. They're all run out of Richmond, Virginia. And this is sort of thing. So what we've done is set up our program to support level 1 and 2 of the exams very strongly. But remember, you don't have to take the courses. All the CFA Institute wants is your money. Okay, they just want your money. They don't care what you've studied. On the other hand, the failure rate's quite high. So if you haven't really not only studied this very seriously with us the first time, but then really busted your chops to study for the second time, you won't get through. Okay, I mean, I can picture now one of Joanne McGee's daughters, and I would come into the second cup at 9 o'clock at night, and there she'd be studying after a day's work for a CFA. And she was, a scholarship student at Queen's with tremendous results, tutoring in math and everything. And she was busted her chops. Well, she got her CFA, and she's an investment analyst. But it's hard, okay? Professor Damian can tell you just how hard, but I mean, you had to do a lot of work, didn't you?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, I mean, he teaches this stuff, and he had to do a lot of work. Of course, he doesn't know any accounting at all. So he had to learn that. There's always something you don't know. If I were to do it, I'd have to learn about bonds, because I think bonds are boring. So you have to, my colleague Professor Shofei Lee doesn't see it that way, because that's what he teaches. All right? But there's always some area you don't know. And all we do is teach it to you once, but you've got to learn again. Nobody learns anything once, okay? Not even us as professors. We have to learn it again and again so we remember it. Now, but I've got some warnings for you. Okay, so again, there's the standards, right? 35, 31, 35, 41. Now, there's 2 important courses and I'm not going to mince words about this. 3585 and 3595 are the intermediate accounting courses. And I hear students saying, oh, I can't stand it, I don't want to do that. I want to be a finance guy. You want to be an investment analyst or anything like that? You don't want to do the accounting? Forget it. You don't have a chance. You have no chance whatsoever of ever getting a job, succeeding, anything in that field. I'm a chartered accountant. Quite seriously, I have broken major frauds. My accounting is incredibly valuable to me in investments. Okay? I do short sales every now and then based on my accounting skills. I have never lost money on a short sale. And I go for several $100,000 a crack. Okay? That's what my accounting does for me. You don't want to take those courses, that's fine. But go into some other area of finance. Don't go into investment management. Okay? Advanced portfolio management, of course, you have to take. Ethics for investment managers. I had a question about that earlier. That course it's got two things going on. It's teaching ethics and regulation in Canada. It's teaching ethics both as a principled practice, using a model that I brought into this school from Wes Cragg, who's a philosopher. It also teaches you the CFA code. And the CFA code of ethics is examined very heavily in the examinations. You have to know it. So this is your first exposure to it. You do some cases, some problems, discuss issues. You also learn about regulation because Yuri Kopach, who teaches that course, knows a great deal about regulation since he was subject to it himself in his own career for 38 years. And so it's not that demanding. Well, it's demanding in the sense that for many of you where English is a second language, this is very, very much all about words. But on the other hand, it's not as difficult technically as some of our courses. It's offered only 2 semesters a year. 4503 derivative securities, also offered only 2 semesters a year with Professor Tahani. Goes through more than you will ever need in derivatives, but will get you started in it. You should understand finance is a quantitative discipline. You don't have to be a high-level mathematician, but you'll have to have for this course some minimal level of mathematics. Okay, so you have to be able to do that. 4504, fixed income securities and risk management. Talked about managing bond portfolios and how bond pricing works. Okay, so an extension again, also related to 4503, only fall and winter. Then 4535, financial statement analysis. Because so many students refuse to take the accounting, we have reduced the prerequisites in this. You'll still do better in that if you've got 3585 and 3595 both. Okay, I would strongly advise that. But you can do it without. Badu Mathai, who teaches that course, like me, is a business strategist. So he's interested in how you see the business strategy revealed in financial statements and how you analyze them from that point of view. So this course has a heavy strategy component, very important to understanding any area of business. But ultimately you come up with conclusions about companies. So that it's a very useful course. It will actually teach you how to do some of the things in a way that, say, straight CFA exams do not. They're more mechanical. This one is more integrated. Security valuation, which I will be teaching this year, after a few years away from it, is, in technical sense, perhaps the hardest course, and it's highly integrative. You will actually value a live company. This fall, it's going to be one of the small power companies, Boralex or Northland Power. You'll have to learn how to analyze the company. You'll have to learn the various valuation models. As a textbook, we use what comes from the CFAs, in fact. We're using something that looks just like the CFA readings. Teach you some of the models, technically how to do it, and then you have to understand the business and bring it all together. Give a report and an oral report, okay, which we'll mark you on. I'm trained in teaching people how to give oral presentations, so we'll give you some background on that, as well as on how to write a professional business report. But remember, you don't need to have any of them. You just have to have any university degree to write your CFA. They'll always take your money. Corporate financial management. We chose consciously to specialize in this school on the first 2 because almost all other business schools specialize in this. Most schools have only 2 streams, investments and corporate finance. We do the financial planning. However, we have a full slate of courses here. So you take the first 2, then you certainly must take 4540. So if you want to go to work for a non-financial company, 4540 is essential. Then, and it's only in the winter, you take 4541, which will teach you all about short-term financial management. Professor Lim teaches that. This is the area he's been doing research in for years. And then there's international financial management. Canada is an open economy. Some of you will not stay in Canada. You'll go back to other countries. You'll likewise be dealing with international relationships, and international financial management is an essential ingredient in knowing how to manage companies in that environment. And then you can take 2 more courses. I suggest that you should take some more accounting, that you should take 3520, the introductory tax course, and take the derivatives course, because derivatives does come into corporate finance quite a lot. How do you choose between these streams? Okay, well, if you take these things in order, you have the best way. Like, I can't tell you what you're going to like. I can tell you ought to like financial planning because it's the most fun. But some of you will perversely decide that you want to be investment managers or corporate finance managers. Take those 3 courses as fast as you can so that you can actually get a feel for it. Because we do enough in those that you'll have a good idea. Now, accounting majors, okay? Special note for them. Or for any of you who decide to switch. Most of you have been having people switching from accounting into finance. But as somebody said here earlier, accounting background is tremendously important for many, many finance jobs. So the CA and CGA streams, and CA and there's this merger going on right now in which CA, CGA, and CMA, or various combinations of pairs of them, are merging across Canada. So I'm not sure what the designations are going to do about education. But as it stands right now, the CGA and what used to be the CA designation now require 35-30 and 45-40 both. You have to have 2 finance courses to cover their curriculum. And I looked at one of the recent uniform final exams in the CAs. Frankly, it was more a finance exam than it was an accounting exam. I was actually quite surprised. So be warned, it's important. Now, other finance courses you might take. Now, your accounting program is really crowded, so you probably don't have much room. But if you do have, if you think, and it's quite possible you're going to work with smaller owner-managed businesses, take 3541. I know this is taking students away from Professor Damian, who really wants them in 3531, but 3541, personal finance. When you are dealing with a smaller owner-managed business, they want your advice on their lives, not just their business. And their personal life, their personal finances, and the business are so intertwined, you should be knowledgeable about that. So that's my advice for the next course for you to take outside the accounting courses. So what can we do? We can give you a wide variety of job opportunities. It is a tough world out there. You will still be better off, probably, in finance. There is one caveat. I give this to accounting students all the time, but the same applies to finance students. You have to like what you're doing. There is no point, just because mom said, you gotta be an accountant or you gotta go into finance. I've had students crying because my parents want me to take finance. I've gotta be a finance person. If you don't like it, you will fail at it. You'll be competing against somebody like me who really loves what I'm doing. I will just tear you to pieces in the business world, so to speak. I'm quite ruthless, actually. I mean, I may look sweet and kindly, but I'm not. Okay? And compare me to the sharks out there. So you have to like it. Okay, you have to enjoy doing it. You also have to be good at it. And you should have reasonable quantitative skills. Okay, but if that applies, it will also teach you to manage your own financial affairs properly. I used to give this course in Schulich, the personal financial planning course at Schulich, where I was for many years. MBA students didn't plan to go into financial planning. They were going to do other things. But they took the course in droves because they wanted to know how to manage their own money. And they really got a lot out of it. So they got a degree credit while doing something that was really personal. And that's kind of fun. And the same thing with the investment management. Okay, you're all going to make large amounts of money. You're all going to donate a bunch of it back to York. And you'll have taken Professor Damian's course, so you'll make even more money because of your investing. Now, don't suppose that I'm promising that he'll make you rich. Okay, you'll get rich by working hard. He'll just make sure that you do the right things with your money and don't lose it all. Okay? This is also a good base for an MBA or Master of Finance down the road. I have more advice for you that you should hear from other people but maybe won't. How many of you think you're going to take an MBA someday? Come on, let's be honest. You all think you're going to do it. Come on. Yeah. Or a Master of Finance. Don't do it right after this degree. Don't do it right after this degree. There's nothing wrong with those degrees. I mean, none of them are as good as our degree. But there's nothing wrong. You should have 4 years experience. Most of the programs won't take you, and there's good reason. I took my MBA after about 4.5 years of work experience. As a chartered accountant where I'd seen every kind of business, and I worked for Shell Canada. All of a sudden, these courses that had been just academic stuff before actually meant something. Especially, I had to take organizational behavior over. It was just amazing, the difference. Okay, had a real effect on what I've done as a researcher and teacher since. you know what the hiring committee or the headhunter says when he sees, oh, went straight from a Bachelor of Business Administration or BAS or BCom or whatever into an MBA? Couldn't get a job. Probably no good. So they say, go get a job. Get some experience, get some money. You can take a lot of MBA programs like Schulich and Rotman and Ryerson part-time. Another reason to take our program is because it's really a lot of fun with terrific instructors. Okay, the only person that will really make your life miserable is me. Everybody else is really great. Okay, so you should avoid taking courses with me. But there are 8 full-time, there are 12 part-time instructors, and we are from 12 different countries of origin. In fact, of the full-time instructors, I'm the only one born in Canada. Okay, that's interesting. I mean, Professor Damian is born in the US, so it's sort of, he was in Minnesota, so it's practically Canada. But the rest, Turkey, Morocco, Singapore, etc., for all of our both full and part-time. Okay, so just like the student body of York. We have experience in, and there's a whole list there, and I probably missed stuff. We have tremendous amount of experience. Not just, I mean, some of the full-time, not all of them, and all the part-time instructors, of course, are people who've worked in all kinds of fields. So we have a lot to give to you, and we do bring it into the classroom. We also have a lot of professional qualifications. This is not typical of business programs, and especially not finance degrees. I think I alone have more professional qualifications than the entire Schulich School put together. Okay, accounting, Chartered Business Valuator, that's what CBV means. All the accounting designations, Certified Financial Planner, CFA, and several of most of those. Okay, so that you will be dealing with people who are both professionally and business equipped. And thanks. What questions?